Hey, Joe, thanks for your time.
Got it.
Was there a moment this season, not necessarily a win or a big play, what have you, where you just kind of got the inkling that maybe this team had this kind of special run in them? I mean, maybe it was just a look somebody gave you in the eye or something somebody spoke up and said during a meeting, what have you?
I think when we went into Baltimore and won the way that we did early in the year, I think we knew that we could be a really good team.
Welcome back to the HeyUSA podcast. My name is Nick Garcia. I am the senior writer of Play USA, and I'm joined, as always, with my colleague, Brant James, lead writer of Play USA. Brant, we are days away from the Super Bowl. How are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good. We were, as you could just see there by the beginning, Play USA. Not throwing any shade at any of our competitors. I'm just saying I didn't see any of those guys that like to compete with us. They're in the Super Bowl virtual portal, like we were. I had a literal question with Joe Burrow. So concise, so evocative. He really had to compose himself after that. I think they might have ended the whole darn thing, but I think he's going to recover and be able to play for the Bengals against the Rams this weekend.
You got to ask him a few questions. Is he, before we get to those questions, is he as cool in Zoom as he is on the field?
Just as cool as cool and calm on Zoom as he is on the field. He didn't have any, as you can see, no sporty glasses. It looked like he might have had a little LSU rubber band wristy thing going there. The most fun part about these interviews is just watching the players hang out before the interviews start. I mean, they know they're on camera, but everyone's just so comfortable with it these days. And honestly, this generation of player, not to sound like old man Withers or whatever, but they're documented on video from conception until whenever their death is. So everyone's very comfortable. Players sit there and they leaf through like magazines and stuff. And he was checking his phone. He was getting the Gatorade logo up to the screen. Total pro. He knows this game inside and out by now.
It doesn't seem, I mean, of course you got to do things by Zoom, just how the world is now, but you kind of miss that appeal of being in players nowadays are coming up having to do Zoom rooms. They're not like, the olden days where they're in a room with 100 other different reporters, cameras flashing, taking questions one by one. I mean, I feel like there's a certain thing that's missing whenever interviews like this are done over Zoom, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just harkening back to the old days where you'd have 15 reporters crushing around an athlete, and then some idiot in the back would nudge the guy in the middle, and he would nudge the guy in the front. There was just nothing better than seeing the look on the player's face when he gets a microphone smacked in the nose in the middle of a question that he hates. That's the glory part of doing this job that not everyone really gets to experience.
That's true. That's true. Well, without further ado, how about we show you those questions?
All right. Hey, Joe, thanks for your time.
Got it.
Was there a moment this season, not necessarily a win or a big play, what have you, where you just kind of got the inkling that maybe this team had this kind of special run in them? I mean, maybe it was just a look somebody gave you in the eye or something somebody spoke up and said during a meeting, what have you?
I think when we went into Baltimore and won the way that we did early in the year, I think we knew that we could be a really good team. Early in the year, we weren't super consistent. We had big wins and bad losses. And, as a young team, sometimes you're going to go through that. But, we came out the other side and we've been playing our best football when it mattered most.
Which team do you think has the most pressure? The one who is very visibly gone all in on the trade market and gets to play really close to home, or the one who is sort of looking to shock everybody and look like have some fun along the way?
I'm not really thinking about that. The pressure's on everybody. It's Super Bowl. We're both looking to go out there and get the victory. It's going to be hard fun.
Thanks for having fun with it.
So there you have it. Our very own Brant James being able to ask Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow 2 questions. That's 2 more than me. So good job on that, Brant. What else do you have to chat about today?
Well, naturally, we were here talking about the Super Bowl and Super Bowl betting because this is a gambling podcast. There's no secret this is the biggest gambling market of the year. But with that, we have a responsibility to talk about responsible gambling, bet within your means, And we had a little discussion with Keith Whyte. He's the chairman of the National Council on Problem Gambling. Really interesting conversation talking about this is sort of a time when folks who have problem with their wagering habits really have to be careful. It's sort of a part of the Super Bowl that not everyone realizes, but responsible gambling is everyone's job within the industry. And let's take a couple minutes and ask them about what kind of challenges the Super Bowl can bring for people with a problem.
All right.
Problem gambling is a responsibility, and it's an issue, and it's a concern all year long. But I would think that this would be sort of a focal point of the year, because with the Super Bowl coming up, the sports betting industry will tell you it's one of the busiest weeks of the year. But I would think that also it's a time when folks that have a problem, or maybe don't even know they have a problem, discover such, and there's more gambling in the mainstream, if not legal in their state now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it's a great thing to talk about, Brant. I really appreciate the time, because I think there's a couple things that your question kind of brings to my mind. One is that the Super Bowl has become essentially a national gambling holiday. And I think so it becomes a little bit like March Madness, where perfect strangers are happy to talk to you about their brackets, or perfect strangers and will be happy to talk to you about their prop bets, or whether they think the line on the Bengals is right or not, what color the Gatorade is going to be dumped on the winning coach. And I think for the vast majority of people, that normalization of gambling in our culture actually is probably a good thing, because it allows us to have open and honest conversations around gambling, and hopefully also open and honest conversations about gambling addiction. But we know we're not there yet. We know that gambling addiction is something that breeds in shame and silence and stigma. And so the difficult part for someone who has a gambling problem is when everybody's talking about that line on the Bengals, you might not know that the person you're talking with, has a massive gambling problem, or that, is trying to stop. And we know that for a lot of gamblers with sports betting, so the second big thing around the Super Bowl is the timing. Because traditional sports betting, which is in most sports betting is still dominated by NFL, as you said. There's the vast majority of bets are still on the National Football League games. The Super Bowl often represents the last chance for a bettor to make up for a losing season. And traditionally, that has always been something we've heard from people in recovery who are sports bettors. They said, especially if they had a losing season, they would get to the end of the year and they'd put it all on the Super Bowl, or they'd bet enough on the Super Bowl to make up, if they won, make up for all those losses that they'd had. And sometimes they just binge anyway, right? So we knew that there was always some relevance to the timing of this end of year kind of big blowout, or desperate last chance to make up your losses. Of course, now with modern sports betting, there are games, you can bet on something 24 hours a day, worldwide, global sports. There's none of these dead periods in the calendar anymore. So that it's taken out a little bit of that relevance.
That was Keith Whyte of the National Council on Problem Gambling, speaking to us about some of the perils that surround the Super Bowl and what everyone needs to be aware of as far as wagering on the biggest betting market of the year. We're going to have a full-length version of that. Keith Whyte is really great. He's been in the business and been pitching responsibility and working on it for a long time. So check the description, and we will have a full length, and it's really going to be worth your time. So please check into that if you can.
Keith is very knowledgeable. I've known him for a couple of years. Went to many conferences and spoke with him personally down in DC when I was down there. So he really knows his stuff. Check out that video, as Brant said, we'll link in the description. But now we should get to an exciting time. Probably one of my favorite times in the Super Bowl is some exciting Super Bowl prop bets.
Ooh, the prop bets.
The prop bets. I mean, we do know that Super Bowl is the most wagered of sporting event every year, all the time. And it's for me better than betting on who's going to win, better than, how many touchdowns so-and-so is going to score, is finding those little niche bets and placing a wager on those. Brant, do you have any fun ones that you want to share with us that you kind of like scrolling through or that you found?
Yeah, I noticed there's a whole bunch. I don't think I can't bet them. I live in Florida, but I was really interested to see how many markets there are on kickers this year. It is my working and living theory that kickers, through ineptitude and analytics, will eventually be phased out of the game. So I'm glad that they're getting their moment right now. What's that little guy? Evan McPherson,
Evan
the little teeny guy.
McPherson.
Well, they're all little teeny guys. The
Rookie out of
Bengals
Florida.
kicker's become a
Yeah.
little bit of a kicker rock star until, as it does with most of them, it all goes horribly wrong, and they're no longer a star. So there's a lot of kicker markets, but I've been writing this week about how the state of Louisiana as a betting market has adopted the Bengals. It makes a lot of sense because you've got Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and there's an affection. The Saints have had a very bad end of the season and off season, which continues. We don't have to get into the Kamara details. But I spoke to several of the sports books that are live there, and there's just been so much action on the prop bets. The Joe Burrow to win the Super Bowl MVP is the most bet on market at prop bet market at DraftKings in Louisiana. At FanDuel, Burrow and Chase comprise 50% of the MVP wagers alone and 52% of the money. So, not being able to make any of mine actionable, I'm just kind of geeking out and looking at the data. I want to hear what you're betting on. I don't know, are you an orange Gatorade kind of guy?
Oh, man.
Or a defensive touchdown guy?
So I've been looking at Say What You Want. Been looking at Barstool Sportsbook here in Illinois, and they have some amazing prop bets out. Combined jersey number of all TD scorers over 187.5 at plus 120. They got, here's a good one. The number of coaches challenges over or under 1.5. And I know Sean McVay is at least good for one challenge a game.
That seems easy.
That's plus 225 right now for the over. They got one that's anything that's overturned for a coach's challenge. Yes is plus 134. I mean,
they're just trying to pay you money.
that's first penalty. First penalty of the game. I'm going with I think one of the best ones is if the Bengals are on defense first, their defensive line is very shaky. They try to anticipate snap counts. They're always offsides. So they got an offsides at 550 plus 550 right now that I'm kind of eyeing. Gatorade color, I shifted over to FanDuel Sportsbook here in Illinois. I got an interesting video. It's a good time for a plug on if you want to sign up with the FanDuel Sportsbook here in Illinois before the Super Bowl. We'll link the video to that in the description.
Go see that.
Go check that out. But they have Gatorade color purple plus 1,180. I don't think it's ever been purple if I'm mistaken.
Orange is the most popular, yes, and then lime green is the second most.
On FanDuel, the popular one right now, or the smallest odds is blue at plus 230.
Ugh.
So
blue,
yeah. But the most interesting bet that I found that I am eyeing from Barstool and from FanDuel is opening kickoff returned for a touchdown. At Barstool, it's plus 5,000. At FanDuel, it's plus 8,000. Brant, can you tell me the name of the player to the first person and only person to date to run back the opening kickoff in the Super Bowl?
Of the entire game?
It's the opening kickoff, just the first kickoff to start the game, ran back for a touchdown. Do you know who it was? First guy to do it.
It was the Bears guy. Hold on. He also plays. He was a defensive guy. Oh man,
he's an FBI agent now.
For
true.
real?
Yeah, true story.
Is not.
He is. And listeners, go look that up.
You talk about a guy who likes dangerous occupations. He couldn't be a florist. Tell me, I know it.
It was Miami Hurricanes rookie Devin Hester. 2000 Super Bowl against the Colts. He was the first and still is the only player to run back the opening kickoff of the Super Bowl. I interviewed some friends, some White Sox fans from the 108. Nice little plug there. But I wrote a story, and they did a prop bet on that year. So we'll link to that in the description. But Brant's right now checking out to see if Devin Hester is in fact an FBI agent, and I am willing to bet that he is.
I might be doing that. Never mind. I thought that a Seahawk did it too, but it was the second half.
There we go.
Yeah, never mind. But you win. That's an FBI agent. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I guess after you retire, you got to figure out something to do instead of selling used cars. And, he took a pretty good route, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't. Sidney Rice. Sidney Rice. Didn't he return
Okay.
one? I think Sidney Rice did. Yeah. That has nothing to do with anything. But yeah, that's good data.
But yeah, as far as prop bet goes, I mean, there's just so many things you can bet on that it wasn't available 5 or 10 years ago, and now it's getting crazy. Everything from the coin toss to how many TDs this guy's going to throw, color of Gatorade, you can't bet on the length of the national anthem in legal markets. We won't even go there. That is something you can't bet on.
Literally, don't go there.
Yeah. But we'd like to hear some of your favorite prop bets. Shoot us a comment or anything on Twitter. We'd like to hear what you're betting on. Brant, as we close out the show before the Super Bowl, give me a one thing that you're looking forward to seeing, that you're hoping to see it happen during the Super Bowl.
I want to finally see Stafford's big mistake because I want to be right.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to be right about Jamar Chase's big mistake.
Okay.
I think like everybody else, I want to see a close game. I mean, when I was a kid, the Super Bowl always sucked. And then we got into a run of pretty interesting ones.
Yeah.
Even I have no dog in the Patriot Falcon fight, but 28-3, that was compelling. I mean, there is some perverse
magic
fun
behind
in
this
watching
stuff. Yeah.
someone else's soul bleed away. No, there's Atlanta fans are used to it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whatever sport, they're basically used to it. So I just want to see a close game. I want to see the legend of Joe Cool expand. If he blows this game up, he is going to make so much money on his next contract. He's going to have so many endorsements, and it's
They might rename the town Joe Burrowville, maybe.
Honestly, that town could use a rename.
I think I'm much like you. I want to see I don't know if I want to see a close game, but I want to see a close offensive forward game. I don't want to see a 3-0 going into halftime type defensive battle.
Yeah.
As much as I love defense, I do want to see it close. I want to see a Evan McPherson walk-off field goal to win the game.
Oh, can I direct you towards some prop bets?
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
You would like to see that too, I think.
Yeah. Without going as far as going into why we're going to make these choices, Brant, final score, who wins the Super Bowl?
Oh, dear goodness. I think that the Rams win the Super Bowl 27-17.
Okay. I'm going to go the opposite route and say Bengals win 27-24 with the Evan McPherson walk-off. He's much like Rudy. He's lifted on the shoulders of the defensive lineman and carried off the field. This is what happens. Anyhow, if you have any questions for us, give us a comment, follow on Twitter, be sure and like, follow, subscribe. Next week we'll come back and we'll discuss, the winner of the Super Bowl. So give us a listen. We're also available on Spotify, all the listening platforms. You know the drill.